Happy Friday, traders. It's 8:02 a.m. Chicago time on Friday, the 20th of August, 2021. This is episode number 2056. Derivatives trading is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. So here's the pre-market summary sheet. We have a market that's actually turned. It was mild risk off. Now it's somewhat mixed to neutral. We've seen the S&P push up quite a bit here in the last, 15 minutes or so, and is proceeding to squeeze higher. Still within yesterday's range in the S&P overall. Crude is the one that's taking it in the teeth. Crude has come off quite a bit for those of you who follow, and again, it's coming off 1.57% this morning. The Nasdaq is leading us up. The Nasdaq breaking higher, still within yesterday's range as well, and that's where we stand. Europe is mixed. Bitcoin and Ether are stronger, slightly stronger this morning. Pre-market, we had Deere report, and we're not expecting anything major going forward. The main things still remain: Fed taper making a market nervous, retail slump, still looking at those retail numbers, and then there are still COVID concerns. And then the other thing that keeps coming up at about the same segment of the overnight session is the Chinese stocks just getting, I don't know if you looked at any index that represents Chinese stocks, but they're getting hammered pretty good. So those are the main concerns currently that I'm aware of. The overnight session is balanced. We're moving away from the center of balance now in the S&P. 211,000 contracts. Actually, that's incorrect. It's about 247,000 contracts currently, and the overnight inventory is 93% short, 34.5 points of range. So the overnight inventory is representing the fact that most of the volume is below the prior session's close, telling us that the inventory is mostly short in order for it to be able to accomplish that. Again, the range 34.5 points, higher than the expectation, the expected value or the mode for the last 252 days, with a point of control of 43.84 even. That's where we stand there. Looking at yesterday's expectations, if you watched yesterday's video. If you didn't watch yesterday's video, I highly recommend you watch it, because I go over an example of how the order flow was foretelling was telling us that it is likely to push higher on the open. This set up a long trade right at the open. Those of you who are in convergent trading saw me posting about that. It set up a long trade right at the open because of the way it was starting to squeeze. And so the expectation yesterday is it would push right through to 92, to the 4400, 4401, and hold steady around that area. It did push higher. It did push into the 4415 was the next key area up, and then above that would be the 22. So looking forward to get to 92 on the first squeeze, and then once it holds the 92, you can see it chopping right inside of the prior session's low. The prior session's low is 92.50, chopping at the prior session's low, and then squeezing to the double O, which gives us the overnight high, which gave us the overnight high at 43.99.50 yesterday. So I was looking for it to go to the double O, to the century figure, and then come off a little bit with an extended target up at 22 is circled on this. Scenario 2 didn't play out at all. Here's what we got yesterday in terms of the action in our review segment. Here we go. So we're looking at a market that opened in a gap down. The opening print was 43.6575, pulled back just a tiny amount. Yesterday we had an open rejection reverse type open, a little bit of a drive, pushed right into 43.8450, which I noted as the opening swing high, with the low being 64.50. 64.50 is a low from the 27th of July, the 3rd of August, and then we just poked it by a tick yesterday, and you could actually see that it's really trying. There was a strong attempt at trying to sell that low, that prior low. This is remember 43.6475 and 43.65 and a quarter down in this area here. These are the last two lows, and they represent the bottom of that balance range from 2250, 44.2250 to 43.6475. So what we did is we one ticked below that balance range, and it really tried like crazy to hit the bid and push lower, and it just could not. It set up a really quick scalp long, which ended up riding into 4,400, and it's pretty decent. It's it's 34 points. It had 34 points of gains in it. Not bad for a scalp, right? So this is what we got. We ended up pushing higher and creating a channel, an upwards trending channel, and then it came right off into the full session VWAP. The full session VWAP. This drop here had me thinking that we are below the prior day's range. We are pushing into the current opening swing. There's the opening swing high. There's the opening swing low. And it had me thinking that it's just starting to falter and may turn south. But instead, it got back into the range. This consolidation here set up another long, breakout long into the 15, which, as I showed you earlier, is the next key area up. The 15 area has multiple. In fact, I posted about it in the Convergent Trading channel. Let me get you that image. Here it is. Open in a new tab. Yeah. So here it is. I posted this yesterday. Oh, wrong screen. Here it is. So you could see that it started way back here, multiple tests, another test, a test from above, a test in, a test from above, to test through the range, and it carries over into where we are. Last week's low is at 1675. We've had many tests of this 15 area. That then became a very important target. Expected a reaction at 15, expected it to turn around and base, and if it had any energy left, it would run into 44.2250, which was not able to do. So that's where we capped out on the day. Very well structured market yesterday, in my opinion. It does not mean that you can make money in it, because it's all about execution. We were having a discussion about this. You can analyze till you're blue in the face. I think the analysis is very important, because sure, you can execute. Heck, I can execute on a coin toss, but unless I have an idea of what the market is looking to do and what key areas matter, and how do we know what key areas matter? We look at who who is if our levels, the day levels, are being respected. In other words, which group or which time frame has its levels being respected. And yesterday, the day and intermediate term time frames were getting highly respected. So you're looking at VWAPs and prior days lows and uh, levels that are generated intra-session, as well as levels created in the intermediate term, like the 15, above it the 22, the 4400 century figure, the 4401 MC point of control, the 64, 75, and 65 and a quarter balance low. Those are just key areas that were generated on a swing basis. And so even though we had a strong push up, we had a lot of respect in those areas. And those days tend to be great opportunity days, in my opinion. So that's where that stands. We left our point of control right at the prior day's close, and then we rallied on the close. We actually had a day where it tested down, tested up, and was about to close on top of the prior session settlement, but for the rally back to the IB high, settling us out above the 4400 at 4401.50. That's yesterday's recap. Note the delta, negative throughout the day. The delta couldn't pick it up, couldn't pick itself up off the floor. Here's what's happened since: 259,000 contracts traded. So relatively active market this morning. So we're coming into a market that is likely to have some opportunity in it. When I say opportunity, it's for gain and loss. More volatility means more opportunity to gain or lose. So I want to make sure that I'm speaking in a balanced way. But we're coming in with a very wide range. We are about to squeeze the overnight high right before the open. So we have a similar situation to yesterday, where the buyers are coming in right before the open. Although today it does not create an opportunity for a long on the open because it's already run. It's already run. So we're looking for on the open. We're going to look for, do we get a counter balancing push? Do we get some long liquidation on the open, profit taking, whatever, before we start to look at targeting 44.15 and 22 again, and so on and so forth. So this is where we stand today. Pretty balanced profile overnight. We've left the mid and VWAP, which are intersecting each other right now. We've left those below us. We've left the overnight point of control below us. Relatively bullish open, but overall we're still inside of the prior day's range. So you got to take that into account, and we're still below the 15. So there's an opportunity here for shorts to come in and just smack this market down at the higher at these higher levels. So important thing to take away from this morning's Trader Bite: not a day you'd want to dive in right off the open, given the condition of the market having tested down, consolidated here, and broken to the high side. We need to see if this is where we're taking price risk for the benefit of more information. We need to see if we get a responsive seller back into 43.95, yesterday's point of control, and 43.84, today's overnight point of control. So we want to see, do we get people coming in and selling and liquidating their positions, or is this going to be a Friday where it runs into the close? If it runs higher, we have key areas above, biggest one of which is, I mentioned the 22 down here. The 22, I can't draw a straight line to save my life here. I've mentioned the 22, but above there you have the 38. That's the next key area up. Above there is the 50. The 50-51 area has some singles. It is the mid-century figure. It's got the top from yesterday. It has multiple tops. Remember the multiple tops, the 51, 52, 53 from 2 days ago. When was that session? Wasn't Wednesday, from Wednesday. No, from Tuesday. From Tuesday, we had multiple tops that tried and tried and tried to take out the 44.50 and sustain a bid, and it could not. So that becomes the next key area to look into. Now, is that too far from where we are now at 44.08, 10? Not really. But that's what you need to watch out for. Okay, let's take a look at the conditions that are setting up from the perspective of order flow. Right in this, if you look at what's happened here, you could see there is some pretty aggressive hitting. This was a single move here earlier in the session. This was on the European Open, and we've just been kind of chopping sideways back into the full session mid and full session VWAP, and have been holding steady. But now this really is meaningful. Look at those dots, those blue dots on the way up. And if we see blue dots along with prices rising and rising and rising, this is not something you want to fade. This was the overnight high before. The new overnight high is 0950, and you could see that there's quite a bit of activity in the tape on the buy side, on the large side, which means greater than, or very large side, which means greater than 100 lot or more, versus the sell side. So from an order flow perspective here, it looks like it is facilitating trading to the buy side. So this is not something I want to stand in front of, but also because it is a vertical move here with pretty good delta. You can see the delta pushing up, small, large lots contributing to a positive delta here on a cumulative delta pane. This is a meaningful move here. So we want to see, does it consolidate? Do we get a fight at the top here? Do we start to see lifting at the top that is unable to get prices moving higher, or what? And that may set up a quick scalp short, or it may set up some consolidation, a choppy open for continuation higher. Pretty important coming into today to know what the order flow condition is as we come into the session. Okay, let's take a step back. It is that Friday of the month where I ask you, where are you located? Where are you located? Please type in where you're hailing in from. The goal is to get traders to connect. So give us your city, state, country, and maybe there's someone around you that you can connect with virtually or whatever. You're welcome to share your Twitter handle or some other social media handle so people can get a hold of you if you don't mind doing that. So there it is. Just hit us up with where you're hailing from. It's quite interesting. I did an analysis of this a bit ago, and we cover this group here that's listening covers just a big blanket across the globe, which is really awesome. Let's get into what's expected for today. Just remember, if you want people to get in touch, to give them some sort of a public connection point, which is usually a social media, like a Twitter handle or Instagram or whatever. Okay, so what are we looking at for today here? It is Friday. I feel like I'm really close to this camera. It's Friday, so what are we looking at? Again, we've broken out from a consolidation in the overnight session that left the full session mid and VWAP behind. We are still inside of the prior day's range. We still have not broken through the 15 up here. This is too scrunched, actually. Too many levels shown. So let's move to 2 Vola Sigma. Yeah, 2 Vola Sigma is good. So what are we looking for today? Again, we've broken away from here. We're inside of the prior day's range. Yesterday's high is 1475, and we've gone parabolic here on pretty good volume, pretty good delta. So what are we looking for? We're looking for the market to open up, squeeze the high, and once it takes out this 44.15, I'm expecting it to pull back to that area. It has now taken back the thin part of the selling day. You see that thin part of the selling day here, this thin volume? It has now taken it back, and it's likely to push into that 26, 22, 26 area, consolidate here, and then start to get back into balance, the balance that we had before the sell-off on Wednesday. So I'm looking for it to push into or toward 38, 38 being the key target above now. And that's where that stands. I'm looking for chop. Okay, I'm going to put it on here so we can look at it on Monday. Chop on the way up. Not looking for a vertical move here. Vertical move already took place. A lot of energy was expended already by this movement. That's scenario one. Scenario two, no emails, folks. Don't put your number, phone number, or email in there. It'll reject it. Scenario two, we squeeze into the 15. We get through it. We hit a wall at 44, 20, 22. So I'm going to put that on here. 20 to 22 wall, or ceiling in this case, right? And then come back to the open and then start to work itself back to the 4400 and consolidating a 43.95 before finishing in the middle. So we end up with a higher high, higher low, no matter what. Today, in my opinion, but it's just a question of, have they had enough on the sell side so now they can buy the dip and carry the market higher, or is there still some doubt in that, and now it needs to go back into it wants to go back into the prior day's range and consolidate for one more day. It is Friday, so my expectations are already tempered, but overall, we should see some pretty good activity on the open. It's important to focus this morning. Anyway, thanks for participating and letting us know where you're hailing from. Make sure you watch your risk this Friday. For those of you with Convergent, we are doing that trader intervention at 1 p.m. Eastern for Brian, who is increasing his size. So we're going to go through his performance and look at what needs to be in place in order to go to the next level. Good luck.